Hello everyone, welcome to the 13th video of Economic Lecture Series. I'm Dr. Arjun Bopanna of Bangalore IAS Academy. This video is brought to you by Namak APSC and Mentors for IAS. So far in our previous videos, we have already discussed fiscal policy. Okay, it is basically the policy of the government dealing with the income and expenditures. So in this particular video, we will get an idea about monetary policy. As usual, we will mainly focus on understanding the concepts. There are various facts, etc., which you'll have to remember that you can always read from any standard textbook. Also, I would like to suggest that as and when you complete the chapters, try to solve as many multiple choice questions as possible. You can find these questions in our website or any other websites that are dedicated for UPSC or KPSC, etc. Make sure you practice and focus on relating these concepts with current events that is happening around you. So with that, we shall move ahead with this chapter on monetary policy. In this particular chapter, we will have to focus on what is monetary policy, what is the objective of monetary policy, the instruments that are used in this monetary policy, types, and the monetary policy system in India. Okay, that is Monetary Policy Committee, RBI's role, government's role, etc. We will try to discuss. So the definition of monetary policy is that it is a component of economic policy. Okay, it is a component of economic policy through which the central bank of a country regulates the money supply in the economy. So that is what is monetary policy. As the name itself suggests, money, it is something to do with money, the policy or the decision that is taken by the central bank of any country in order to regulate the supply of money. If you see this diagram over here, so the central bank is like this. It regulates the supply of money into the economy. To understand this whole idea of monetary policy, there's a diagram that I have made over here. Now, if you take the central bank of our country, that is RBI, Reserve Bank of India. So the Reserve Bank of India controls the supply of money in the economy. Now, what do you understand by money? Money is anything that is used to buy goods and services. Yes, in simple terms, for you to understand, money is something which is acceptable as a payment for goods and services. Yes, or even for settlement of your debts. That is what is money. So money can be a medium of exchange, a unit of account, and it's also a store of value. So let me try to explain this much in a very simple term, the monetary policy. Now you have money in the economy. Money is used to buy goods and services. So imagine a condition where you have more money. When there is more money in the economy, what will happen? There is going to be more demand in the economy, more demand for goods and services because more people have purchasing power. So what will happen to the prices when the demand is high? The prices will be high. So imagine gold, there is a lot of demand for gold. So therefore the price is high. Okay. Similarly, on the other hand, when there is less money in the economy, what will happen to the demand? Demand will be less. So what will happen to the prices? The prices will be less. Now you tell me whether high price is good or low price is good. So you can say, oh, no, high price is bad. Okay, why? Because high price means inflation. So inflation is bad because you have to spend more. So we should not have high prices for goods and services in the economy. Agreed? Yes, if high price of goods and services, it leads to inflation. And, consumers, we citizens will find it very difficult to buy goods and services. Like imagine the onions, the prices were so high. We had to face problems because of that. So therefore, high price is not good. Then you can say, oh yeah, low price is good because we will get everything very cheap. But there's a problem with that also. If the prices are less, imagine if you are a businessman or let's take if you are a farmer. Okay. So if the farmer has produced, let's say, tomatoes or onion. So you are telling that the prices should be low. So are you happy with 5 rupees per kg tomato or 5 rupees per kg onion? Yes, you will be happy as a consumer. But what about the farmer? Farmer would have spent money on fertilizers, on seeds, on irrigation, etc. His overall cost comes up to say, let's say 10 rupees per kg. but he is selling at 5 rupees per kg. So he is making a loss of 5 rupees per kg. So who is suffering here? The producer, the manufacturers, etc. They suffer. When they suffer, what will happen? They will not have, their savings will get eroded. When their savings get eroded, next time they will not invest. So a farmer will not make profit, and he will not grow tomatoes and onions next time. And then what will happen? There will be job losses, there will be distress, there will be economic recession, etc. So therefore, what do you now think about it? So is high price good or low price good? Both are not good. What you need is a stable price. Stable price. That means it should be the right price such that the producers or manufacturer are able to make profit, and at the same time the consumers are able to get these goods and services at the affordable price. So this is what is ideal. The ideal condition is a stable price where the producers and manufacturer gets gets good amount of profit. At the same time, consumer gets it at affordable price. And this can happen when there is the right amount of money. Going back to our discussion, when there is right amount of money in the economy, there will be right amount of demand, not more, not less, and the prices will be right, and therefore that leads to economic growth as well as welfare. So therefore the whole discussion what we have done here is to express that the right amount of money is very necessary for our economy. It is very essential for our economy to have the right amount of money supply in the economy. So this is done by whom? This is done by the RBI. The RBI will ensure that there is right amount of money in the economy to have the right amount of demand, to have the right amount of price. This policy of the central bank in our country, the RBI, this policy of RBI to ensure the right supply of money is known as monetary policy. So RBI will ensure that there is right amount of money supply in the economy. Okay, so coming back to the diagram over here. So the RBI will ensure that there is right amount of money in the economy so that the people are able to buy commodities, goods and services at the right price, and the manufacturer and the farmers are able to make profit. How do they do this? This is done by regulating the supply of money. So for this, they use an intermediary which is called as financial institution, and one of them being bank. So I'll try to explain this over here. RBI, through the financial institutions, control the supply of money in the economy, thereby affecting the demand in the economy and thereby the prices in the economy. So RBI has got various tools. It has got various tools. These tools are called as monetary policy tools, which we will discuss later. So by its, in that previous diagram you saw, no? How the RBI has a tap by which it can control the supply of money in the economy. This tap is nothing but your monetary policy tool. This is your monetary policy. So RBI will control the supply of money into the banks, which in turn supplies the money to the people, which in turn affects the demand, which in turn affects the price. It is as simple as this. This is what is monetary policy. So to recap, monetary policy, okay, what is monetary policy? Monetary policy is that part of the economic policy through which central bank regulates the supply of money into the economy. Okay, that means it decides the desired level of money flow, okay, in the economy, and thereby regulating the demand in the economy. So who does this? It is done by the central bank of every country. In our country, it is done by the RBI. Now there are little bit changes. It is done by the Monetary Policy Committee that we will discuss it in the next video. How is it done? So as I already explained to you in the previous slide, how is it done is the RBI controls the supply of money to the financial institution. So the financial institution give loans to the people. So people includes your common man, or it can even include the companies, public. Okay, so public includes your common man, citizens, etc., and it can include even the company. So the financial institution gives loan to the public. So if RBI tightens the money supply, that means if it reduces the money supply to the financial institution, what will happen? Financial institution will have less money. They in turn will give loan at higher interest. At higher interest. So the interest rate on loan will increase. And people will have to borrow money at a higher interest, and therefore they will not borrow more. And therefore the supply of money in the economy will reduce. On the other hand, if RBI increases the supply of money into the banking system or financial institution, they will be able to offer loan to the people at lesser interest. Am I making myself clear? If there is less money in the bank, they will have to charge more interest. If there is more money in the bank, they will charge less interest. It's basically demand and supply. If there is more money in the economy, there will be less interest rate. Okay, if there is less money in the economy, the interest rates will be higher on the loans. Okay, so therefore this RBI's money supply will in turn affect the loans, the loan interest rate. Therefore, it is also known as credit policy. So you can see here, okay, you can see here that monetary policy is also known as credit policy because the supply of money by RBI to financial institution has a direct bearing on the interest rate charged by the financial institution. I'll repeat again, the monetary policy, okay, which regulates the supply of money to the financial institution will have a direct bearing on the interest rate of loans given by the financial institution to the public. So interest rate is the way through which RBI controls the supply of money into the economy. So if RBI increases the money supply, interest rate will reduce. If RBI reduces the money supply, interest rate will increase. Hence, it is also called as credit policy. So this is how it is done. There are two tools which are used. Broadly, we can classify monetary policy tools into two types, that is qualitative and quantitative, which I'll explain later. Okay, so when is it done? This is done when there is variation in the prices. When there is variation in the prices. Again, going back to our what we discussed earlier, when the prices are high, that means when there is inflation. Okay, during inflation, the RBI will try to reduce the demand in the economy. And how do you reduce demand? By reducing the money supply. Yes, when the prices are very high, okay, that is during inflation, the RBI will try to reduce the demand by reducing the supply of money. On the other hand, when there is a recession, or when there is an economic slowdown, the RBI will try to increase the demand. What will happen when there is a slowdown? People are not buying anything. People don't have money. So there is, a reduction in the demand. Right? Therefore, companies are making losses. RBI would want to increase the demand. How will it increase the demand? By supplying more money into the economy. Right? So more money into the economy. Now, there is COVID-19 crisis that is going on, and this is going to lead to slowdown in the economy because everybody is locked up in the house. The demand is less. Once the lockdown is out, people come out. Many people would have lost their job. There is less demand in the economy. So what will RBI do? RBI will supply more money into the economy through the monetary policy tool. Okay, it will increase the supply of money to the economy, thereby increasing the demand. So this is when the RBI uses its monetary policy. Either when the prices are going high or when the prices are very less, RBI will interfere and it will try to maintain an stability in the economy. So when to maintain stability in the economy. Right? So that is the major objective. The major objective is to maintain stability. There are other objectives which we will discuss, but the major objective is to maintain stability. Now, coming to the other objective. So, price stability is the major objective. If the price is very high or the price is very low, RBI will regulate the money supply and try to address this. I have already explained this. I hope this is clear. The India RBI targets price stability. Next, controlled expansion of bank credit to ensure that loan reaches the economic sectors, various economic sectors, okay, so that there will be economic activity. This in turn will create jobs. So this is another objective, to ensure that loan reaches various sectors. Now let's say farmer. So farmer would require what? Loan during the sowing season to buy good seed. Okay, then for irrigation he would require loan. Then for harvesting his produce he would require loan. Then for transportation and storage he would require loan. So in all this he requires loan, credit from where? From the bank. To ensure that the credits are available to farmer, RBI uses its monetary policy. Similarly, desired distribution of credit. That means the loan should go to which sector is also decided through monetary policy. Whether the loan will go to farming or whether loan will go to a high-end buying luxury items. So if you go to a bank, if you are a farmer, you are able to get loan at a cheaper interest rate. If you go and try to buy a luxury car, you have to pay higher interest. If you go to bank and take loan for cheap housing, okay, then you get loan at a cheaper price. If you want to get personal loan for say vacation, you have to pay higher interest. So interest rate varies from the purpose for which you are going to use it. Okay, how is this? This is because of RBI's monetary policy. RBI will ensure that some important sector gets loan at a cheaper interest rate, and there are some sectors, luxury and others, which RBI does not want to promote. Those sectors will get loans at a higher interest. So that's the meaning of desired interest distribution of credit. Further, it will also promote investments. See, if you are a businessman, okay, or if you are a farmer, you need money. Okay, you need money to invest. Say if you're a farmer, you would want money to buy seeds, to buy machines, for irrigation purpose. For all these investments, you need money. Similarly, if you're a businessman, you would want money, loan, okay, to open a new shop, to expand your business, etc. So where do you go to? You go to financial institution. So to help the business get money to promote investments, okay, monetary policy is used. Now, for example, when there is economic slowdown, if the RBI wants to promote investment, RBI will reduce the interest rates by supplying more money into the economy. This is what the RBI is doing, okay, with respect to slowdown presently. So, if you have read the current newspaper, you would have seen that RBI has started to reduce the rates. Next, exchange rate stability. Now let's try to understand how and what is this exchange rate stability and why is it so important. So here I have written a simple explanation of how rupee and dollar will be rated. Okay, so 50 rupees equals $1 or 60 rupees equals $1 and 70 rupees equals $1. So when the rupee is 50 rupees for $1, that means you are paying less rupee for the same dollar. That means the rupee value has appreciated. But when the rupee value is 70 for $1, that means you have to pay more rupee for the same dollar. That means rupee value has reduced. This is known as depreciation. When the rupee value is deteriorating, the value of rupee is deteriorating, it is known as depreciation. When the rupee value is appreciating, it is known as, increasing, it is known as appreciation. Now, think about it. What is good? Is rupee value appreciating good or rupee value depreciating is good? Most of us will think, oh yeah, if rupee value appreciates, tomorrow if 1 rupee equals $1, it is very good. We will be, superpowers. That is what we think. But let's try to understand the consequence of appreciation and depreciation. Okay, so this has a direct bearing on export and import of the economy, in the economy. Now let's say let's first take export. So we are exporting pen. So we are manufacturing pen in India and we are exporting the pen. So if you are an exporter, let's say this pen I am selling in the market at $1. Okay, $1 is the cost of this pen. So let's say today's exchange rate is 60 rupees equals $1. So when I sell this pen for $1, how much am I making? I am making 60 rupees. Okay, I'm getting 60 rupees. So when rupee value appreciates, so you're saying rupee value appreciating is good for the economy. If you assume that, let's say if rupee value appreciate, so I am still selling the pen at $1. So now instead of 60 rupees, because the rupee value has appreciated, I am getting 50 rupees for the same pen. Earlier I used to get 60 rupees. Now I am getting 50 rupees. The pen is still being sold at $1. But earlier I used to get 60 rupees for the same dollar. But now I am getting 50 rupees for the same dollar. Let's say on the other hand, if the rupee value depreciates, so I am still selling it at $1, but now instead of 50 rupees or 60 rupees, I am going to get 70 rupees. So now you tell me, if you are an exporter of pen, would you want the rupee value to appreciate or depreciate? You would want rupee value to depreciate because you will get more. Or instead of selling it at $1, because anyways you are making more profit, you will sell it at $0.8, and therefore Indian pen will become more competitive in the international market, and we will be able to sell more pens. This is what China does. China depreciates its currency so that their commodities are cheaper in the international market and everybody buys Chinese made goods. So we have understood this, that depreciation of currency benefits exporters. What about importers? On the same hand, opposite. We are importing, let's say, petrol. Okay, so we are importing, let's say for 1 liter, we are paying $1. So today's value is 60 rupees for $1. So petrol 1 liter is 60 rupees Indian money. If rupee value appreciates, when rupee value appreciates, the same 1 liter becomes 50 rupees. And the rupee value depreciates, the same 1 liter becomes 70 rupees. So if I am an importer, I would be hoping that the rupee value appreciates. So to conclude, when the rupee value appreciates, who will benefit? Importer will benefit. When the rupee value depreciates, who will benefit? Exporter will benefit. Then what do you want to promote? Would you want to promote exports or import? In India, we cannot, completely rely on either of it. Why? Because exports, if we try to promote exports, import will become expensive. If we try to depreciate our currency to promote exports, imports will become more expensive. What do we import? We import petrol and other essential commodities, which will become more expensive. And if petrol prices increase, or it is used for transportation, so all other commodities will increase. So now you tell me whether you want 50 rupees or 70 rupees per dollar. I would say we should have a stable price, 60 rupees. Okay, 60 rupees equals $1. This stability will ensure that imports are affordable and exports are promoted at the same time. So therefore, that is the meaning of this exchange rate stability. So if there is change in rupee and dollar value, RBI will interfere and try to control the rupee and dollar price. How do they do it? We will discuss in external sector. For now, you understand RBI has, through monetary policy, can control the rupee versus dollar price. It will not interfere regularly. Only when there is too much fluctuation in the external market, only then they will interfere. Next, it will try to promote exports. Yes, so over here I told you rupee value depreciation will promote exports. And ultimately promote economic growth. How do they promote economic growth? By maintaining stability, by promoting investment, by promoting export, etc. RBI will try to promote economic growth. These are the objectives of monetary policy. I hope this is clear. If it is not, again repeat the video and try to understand this concept. Please understand the concept. Don't try to by heart. If you're still not clear, try to read any standard book. Okay, standard textbook, etc. You will be able to appreciate. You can find the link of my economic textbook. You can read it and try to understand it along with this particular video. To understand what do you mean. Now, there are two broad instruments, okay, on monetary policy. One is known as quantitative or general measures. The other one is known as qualitative. I will just describe it briefly. In the next video, we will describe each of these tools separately. So, quantitative monetary policy means it regulates only the supply of money and it does not control the purpose for which it is being used. It only regulates the flow, quantum of money in the economy, but not for what purpose it is going to be used for. Whereas in qualitative monetary policy or selective measure, RBI will ensure not just the flow of money, but also for what purpose this money is going to be used for, whether it is going to be used for farming or whether it is used for buying luxury items. So this is qualitative, both the quantum as well as the purpose. In quantitative, only the quantum of money supply is determined by the RBI. So here you can find the names of various quantitative measures which we will be discussing in the next video. Cash reserve ratio, statutory liquidity ratio, bank rate, open market operation, liquid adjustment facility, repo operation, reverse repo, and marginal standing facility. These are very, very important. In your current affairs, you will come across all these terms repeatedly. So next video will therefore become very important. Similarly, in your qualitative measures, you have credit rationing, margin requirement, differential rate of interest, moral suasion, and direct action like penalty, sanctions, etc. Just to conclude our video, this particular video, there are two types of monetary policy. One is contractionary, the other one is expansionary. Very simple, as the name itself suggests. Contractionary means when RBI tries to reduce the supply of money. Why would RBI want to reduce the supply of money? In order to reduce the demand. When would RBI want to reduce the demand in the economy? When there is an inflation. So when there is an inflation, RBI wants to reduce the demand in the economy to reduce the prices. This will be done by reducing the supply of money. And the other one is expansionary. Expansionary means increase the supply of money. How will RBI increase the supply of money? By reducing the interest rate in the economy. By reducing the interest rate in the economy, it will increase the supply of money. By increasing the supply of money, the demand will increase. When the demand increases, okay, demand will increase in the economy. When would RBI want to increase the demand? When there is a recession or when there is a slowdown. Post COVID-19, there is an economic slowdown. RBI would want to increase the demand. How will it do it? By making interest rate, reducing the interest rate, making money cheaper. So there will be more supply of money in the economy and thereby increasing the supply of money, increasing the demand and reviving the economy. So these are the two types of monetary policy. With that, I will end this particular video. In the next video, we will discuss the various monetary policy tools. That is, what is our cash reserve ratio, statutory liquidity ratio, what is repo rate, reverse repo, etc. We will try to understand them and what is the utility of all these monetary policy tools. We'll also discuss about monetary policy committee. I hope these videos are useful. If you find them useful, don't forget to like and share this particular video so that you can motivate us to come up with more such initiative. If you want a good economic book, you can download my economy textbook in the link of which is there in the description box. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.